Hey everybody, another GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer Quest, Cursed City, the Nightwars expansion. The first expansion for Cursed City since it was first launched, and then kind of didn't get anything for a long time. It was sort of discontinued very quickly. And this was kindly sent along as a complimentary copy to review by Games Workshop. So, first things first, this is literally the first time I've ever seen this, but Games Workshop's produced an expansion for one of their tabletop games that does not have any miniatures in it. And elephant in the room, I was shocked. I was super surprised that they did not put the miniatures for the expansion in this. A couple of reasons for that. First off, this is a board game, obviously. It's got a fairly decent rating on Board Game Geek. It does a lot of really interesting different things with like the leveling mechanics and stuff from Blackstone Fortress, which was their previous Warhammer Quest series game to this that had a ton of expansions, all of which had models in them. And this offers this is a bit like the Ascension campaign for Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress, where you basically go up against the kind of final showdown. So, short story long, Radiker's been deposed, and 3 different vampire lords have basically taken control of the city. And for the expansion to be able to be playable, you need to buy those 3 vampire lords. You need to buy Lady Annika the Thirsting Blade, a vampire lord, which has a name in this. Her name is Carmilla de Song. She's the one that's not actually a vampire from the city, too. She's from New Lamia. And Kritza the Rat Prince. And then some Fellbats, which are a new minion that can attack you in the game. And then finally you need Radiker the Priest, because he's gone crazy, turned into like a giant monster version of himself, and he's roaming the streets attacking people. And so he's a little less the main villain and more kind of like a force majeure that is attacking the characters through the course of the game. So you don't have these in the box, and you also don't, and this was the surprising thing because this is a board game, you don't get like a cardboard stand-in to play with it. I think it would have been totally fine to do this if you just included what board game players will expect in a non-premium board game expansion, which is just a counter to play the game with. You get counters for everything else. You get counters for new board tiles, decapitation tokens for the 3 big vampires, new numbered lich gates, blood points, lurk tokens for one of the certain 3 mission types, hunted tokens for when the vampires are after you, an abhorrent swarm token for when you're in Kritza's area and you're trying to purge the vermin. It's kind of replacing the grave tide, and then carried item tokens for certain items that you can find. There was room for cardboard in here. So if we pull this thing open, and you're probably just being like, why are you showing me the back? Well, here's what's actually inside. You get your new quest card for tracking doom and victory. You get all of your character cards for vampires and for Radiker, right? So you get your bad guy cards. So there's Carmilla de Sang, who's the Vampire Lord, Lady Annika the Thirsting Blade, and Kritza the Rat Prince. And these all came out for the Soulblight Gravelords, along with Radiker the Beast, separate from this expansion. And on top of that, you get the Fellbats card, right? So I'm not going to go too far into them, but the big thing is it's always nighttime in this quest too. So like, there are things, I guess, that can flip the card, but you're basically always going to be using the enhanced side. You get a new set of discovery cards that you actually mix in with the discovery cards that you have. You get new empowerments and new encounter cards as well for running this specific quest. So basically what this does is this overlays and replaces the Ulfenkarn quest where you defeated Radiker originally. You get some cardboard to punch out and some new board tiles and stuff to play in as well with some new effects. And then you get your rulebook. And this is the quest book. So things this does really well. First things first, it gets rid of the grind. So one of the things that was a bit, I think people just mostly skipped it because it was not a super fun mechanic. It wasn't very engaging. Was in the previous Peril and Ulfenkarn campaign, you basically had to manage fear and terror. And so you had to do these alternating quests where you had to, every time you would do a quest, you would get one of the 2, and you would get more of one than another, so you had to go back out of the city and then do other quests to push down those factors, because if they ever got out of hand, you just lose the campaign. In this one, there's a Doom rating instead, and Doom is just tracked the same way as Fear and Terror. If you ever get 7 Doom count tokens, or 5 of your heroes are dead, then the campaign's over. And you just get Doom tokens by losing a mission. So if you fail a Purge mission or a Decapitation mission or whatever, you gain a Doom token. If you lose 7 times, then the campaign's over. And at that point, you've probably lost all your heroes anyway, and you're probably not doing super well. And then what it's replaced with now is Purge, Sabotage, and Pillage missions. So instead of having to track Fear and Terror, you don't do that anymore. You just try and do these things, and as soon as you've done 3 of 1 of each, they're all tied to a different vampire, then the vampire emerges to attack you, and you defeat them in a decapitation mission. And then once you defeat all 3 of them, you go to the final showdown where you fight all 3 of them at the same time. So it's a pretty straightforward quest. It does away with like a management system where like you still have to grind. You have to grind basically 12 missions, 13 when you get to the finale. And if you manage to pass all 13 of those missions, then you finish the quest. Because it really just comes down to win or lose. If you win 3 purges, then Annika shows up and you have to fight her with her decapitation. If you finish 3 sabotages, then Carmilla shows up. And if you finish 3 pillages, then Crits of the Wrath Prince shows up and you fight him. So you have a new discovery deck, yeah. So the new rules, huge hostiles, just to handle the different base sizes in here. So for Radiker's 50 mil base, and for Kritz's Rat Prince base. You get a new extraction table for when you end a mission. When the airship comes to pick you up, basically, you can roll new things, so that's different. And then the assumption is because you can't play this quest until you've completed the first one, everybody's getting close to level 5. So they give you some elite classes. If you are level 5 and you have a veteran token and you level, you can become one of the associated classes. The lore masters can become oracles or scholars, and you get new enhancement cards to go along with that, right? So if you're a blade master, you can get up to 3 levels of that after you level. You can be nimble. Once per turn during their activation, this hero can swap spaces with one adjacent small or large hostile that is wound of 10 or less. You can just move around. Blistering reflexes. After this hero's remaining activation dice are changed to reaction dice, if any, this hero gains an additional reaction dice with a value of 6 to a maximum of 4 reaction dice. Or you can change the value of one of their dice to being 6 if they already have 4. And then Supremely Skilled, once per turn, you can use this action dice value of one of the hero's melee weapons instead of their defense value when making a defense roll. So just be like, yeah, this is gonna use the melee weapons as opposed to make my defense roll. So if I have like a 2d8, I'd roll that instead of rolling like a d6 or a d8. Executioner for scholars, blade masters, stalwarts. So basically you can learn extra levels, and I don't want to go through and spoil any of that. You get your level 2 vampiric powers and level 3 vampiric powers. Now these are sealed. All the vampires start at level 1, and as you defeat them, the other ones basically absorb their territory and become level 2 and level 3. And I like that because the hard thing with writing a quest like this is you've basically left the heroes at the end of the first campaign almost as powerful as they can possibly be, so you need to do something to take that into account. So it's always nighttime during this quest, which means everybody's empowered all the time. And also, you need to scale with the increasing master classes as well. So they basically just unlock new powers that you reveal as the vampires get slain. So as soon as you kill your first vampire and decapitate them, the other 2 gain a level 2 vampiric ability, and vice versa. The last one alive will have a level 3, and then I think when you go to fight them all at the final showdown, they're all level 3, and you've unlocked all that. So it's all surprising. It's in a little pack, which is kind of nice. Another post-game thing, you go to Haven. It's a new settlement basically in the middle of the town where you can go and visit different locations. So it's kind of like in Blackstone Fortress, how they had the different ships you could go to. You can go and roll a quest dice and get various benefits. And depending upon what your decapitation level is, different places open up. So like you have like the Tawny Owl, which is an inn, the Surgical Clinic, and the Noble Grave, which are 2 other places. Like you can get help basically in those. And then like you get at 1 decapitation token, you get the Gambling Den, a House of Worship, and the Alchemical Wares to go and buy things. So basically you get access to better stuff as the game gets harder. And that lets you spend your Realm Stone. And then these are the different journey types. So Purges all target Annika. Sabotage, and the Purges are basically you're trying to kill as many hostile groups as possible. So you're just running through one of these 4 maps, and as soon as you kill 10 hostile groups, you finish the purge. So it's pretty straightforward. The sabotage ones, you lay out actually the Gnawborn Strain, the Diregoal models, the 4 of them. You're trying to hunt them down through the streets basically as this like fog descends. And as soon as you kill 10 of those, then it ends, as long as you have a hero alive. And then finally for the pillage journey, you're trying to desecrate 10 or more princely properties. So you're trying to wreck all of what's his name, Kritz's stuff. You have to raise them and blow them up. And then finally, there's some other decapitation stuff that when you start decapitation, the vampire emerges and attacks you. So first you have to defend Haven because he attacks where you're living, and then you go and fight the vampire lords and their various decapitations, which are here at the end. And then the big one. You get your own bespoke crises, so you replace the crises in the quests with like new sort of like procedurally generated encounters, which is cool. And then once you've defeated all 3, it's over. Then you unlock a cool new little bonus MacGuffin, and you've completed the quest. So, things I like, obviously this quest book, everybody kind of assumed when we saw the stuff for the Soulblight Gravelords that they must have been part of the Cursed City expansions, and obviously they were, and here it is now. That stuff's kind of out there in the wild, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it not being in the box, or at least there not being like a cardboard alternative. I think I would have been completely fine with it from like a logistical point of view if they weren't going to pack it in there, if there was a cardboard counter for all of the vampires, but there isn't. And so the problem with having to buy all this stuff separately is usually when you buy these expansions, you get the stuff in the box. And I remember I have no idea what the MSRP is for this stuff when I get it to review. I actually don't know the price tag, but I do know the price tag of these 5 boxes in Canada is $250 Canadian. So to play the expansions almost as much as buying the original Cursed City box set here in Canada. And I think that's going to put some people off. I mean, it's obviously like I can start off by just having the Fellbats and Radiker to like get me started, and then I could just, as I go and like do them, I could buy them one at a time. I could kind of meter myself, but it's weird because it's just a real break from the way these are traditionally done, where you would get the expansion with the miniatures in it, and that's how it went for pretty much all of the Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress ones. Is the first time this has happened this way, so I don't really know how I feel about it. I don't know when I'm going to get to having Fellbats and Radiker. I have to find them. I don't even know the store locally has them in stock unless I order them online. So yeah, I feel like it's a missed opportunity. I feel like it would have added value to the box, and I definitely would be more excited about it if I was getting to paint a bunch of Vampire Lords. It also feels a little bit like maybe, and this is a guess, I don't actually know that this is happening, that those expansions might have all individually been packaged in the smaller Blackstone Fortress format, and this is like an amalgamation instead of like a bunch of smaller things added into like one final one instead. So I don't know. It feels like there could have been smaller adventures to hunt down each of them, and they would have felt really special, versus having this one where you're fighting these 3 Vampire Lords all at once, and then maybe they'll do another one with the Wolf Lady, the Wolf Queen. I'm trying to think of what else is in the Verkos Bloodline stuff miniature-wise. I know she's in it. And then obviously Radiker the Beast is in it. Maybe he comes back because he's just kind of like a force majeure in this one. He's just this insane ranting monster that is always hunting you through everything. 20 wounds, giant, move 7. He does his Verkos pack attacks too, which is just double because he's got 2 Verkos like vampires on him. They do 2 attacks at 3-4 damage. They are well hard, these guys. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just odd. It's just odd they didn't pack it in. It's 3 small characters, a large character, and some Fellbats. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be received. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'm excited. The learning, obviously, in this is great. It's a lot more approachable, I think, as a campaign. I like that you get to continue leveling up your heroes. I like that there's more to do in the post-game, going and visiting like locations and stuff like that. It gives Ulfenkarn a bit more personality and makes the setting feel really cool. But there's no new hero, right? Which usually these expansions might also give you a new hero. You got that with like heroes and like the like allies and stuff too in Blackstone Fortress. I was kind of hoping for that, and yeah, and the models for and there's no new bad guys either. The models for the bad guys are in the box, not in the box. So it feels a little like it would be, if I was really excited still about Cursed City, I'd have a good time playing through this, but because I need something outside this box, I'm kind of stalled out right now, and I'll maybe do it in stages and buy a couple, like buy Vampire Lord and buy Radiker and buy the Fellbats and do it that way. But I'm not like as pumped to like get going on it and jump in and play. So yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. So there it is, a look at Cursed City Nightwars, the first expansion for Warhammer Quest Cursed City, with some of the characters from the Soulblight Gravelords that we've obviously seen come out as bad guys, and a whole new quest line to play through. So big thanks for watching. We'll see more GMG reviews in the future. Don't mash. Have a good night. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.